viewers, you're watching the Wow Lifestyle Show. Today we're talking about preeclampsia, basically hypertension and more during pregnancy. And we have our experts here to help us discuss. We have Dr. Samuel Osei-Somoa. He's a Municipal Director of Health Service and he's a Principal Medical Officer. We also have Ms. Monica Belwa. She's an avid health educator and she's a midwifery officer. We're going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk more.
She picked the time. He picked the place. Now their eyes meet. They feel an undeniable attraction, but self-doubt stands between them. Can they break the barrier? With the freshness of antibacterial mouthwash formula with zinc in our best ever close-up toothpaste. Break the barrier. Move closer with confidence. Close-up deep action for 12 hours of long-lasting fresh breath.
All right, doctor, you know, we're talking about preeclampsia today, and it sounds like a big word. It is a big word, and someone may be wondering what it is. When we say preeclampsia, what really is it?
Well, preeclampsia is one of the pregnancy disorders. It's a new onset hypertension at 20 weeks with proteins in the urine or end organ dysfunction. If you have any of your organs, peripheral organs like the kidney, the liver, the brain, having an anomaly as a result of this hypertension, then we say that you have preeclampsia. So it's not just having hypertension and proteinuria. You may not necessarily have proteinuria, but abnormalities that when we measure, like your liver function has changed, your renal function has changed to the worst, then we say you may be having preeclampsia.
That is what must have allowed anybody at all to have some proteins in the urine.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So hypertension, I'm sure a lot of people might have heard, but then someone may also not know what hypertension is.
Okay.
So could you please break that down for us?
Okay,
as well?
hypertension is a vascular disorder, and it is accompanied by spasm of the vessels at the periphery, what we call peripheral resistance. The vessels become spastic, and then the pressure of the heart to also pump out is also lowered. So if you combine the two, you see that because the heart is not able to pump well, and there's so much resistance also at the periphery, your blood pressure starts rising. The minimum systolic 140 millimeters of mercury, diastolic 90. That's the cutoff point, 90 millimeters of mercury. So we may have the essential type and the symptomatic type. But what happens in pregnancy is that you had this, or in preeclampsia is that you suddenly have this rising of your blood pressure after 20 weeks. Somebody who's normal gets pregnant, and then after 20 weeks, your blood pressure starts rising, and then it takes off from there.
Okay, so what usually causes the rise in blood pressure at 20 weeks? Since we are talking about preeclampsia, I wish that we will limit ourselves to that. That is high blood pressure at 20 weeks and proteins in the urine. What really are the causes?
Yeah. The real cause of the disease is yet being studied. But there's been a lot of hypotheses or thinking around it, like this problem is it or that. Some of the clearest hypothesis is the maternal spiral artery remodeling theory. It's a big word.
Please break down. I'm sure our viewers don't really know, so if you can come down
now,
for
the
us.
uterus, your womb, has vessels in it.
Okay.
There are two types of vessels. The arteries that send blood, oxygenated blood, and the veins that take deoxygenated blood. But what happens in preeclampsia that there are some type of arteries in the mother's uterus. We call it the uterine spiral arteries. These arteries begin to remodel. The reason for remodeling is that it has to open up, becomes like a capacity tank, and also go deep like a tree that has to send its roots deep into the soil so that nutrients can come into the tree. So that in the case of pregnancy, these spiral arteries, like roots of a tree, open up and are remodeled to capacitive vessels so that nutrients can come in, oxygen can come into the vessel in a good rate and in quantity. And also waste products like carbon dioxide and excretories from the fetus can be taken away through the mother system. Unfortunately, this remodeling becomes faulty. It is on one hand not able to go deep enough to get hold of the placenta. And secondly, it's still narrow. It's still narrow and can't carry the nutrients. Secondly, we have what we call, a big word is coming, the fetal cytotrophoblasts.
Okay.
It is the outer villous layer of the fetal vessels. It also invades, so the spiral arteries are expanding, and these trophoblasts are also invading. They come to meet at a point. And at one point, these two types of systems remodel so that the vessels are well expanded and nutrients are coming. It's unfortunate that the remodeling of the spiral arteries and the cytotrophoblasts are also not well arranged, and it becomes haphazard. So the placenta becomes superficial, the vessels become narrow, there is what we call the immune particles that get into the maternal system. Okay, that's the third hypothesis, that foreign particles get into the maternal system and cause endothelial injury, or what we call endothelial dysfunction. That is why the disease is not only at the placenta level, but it's at the whole body. Because foreign system get into the maternal system, injures the system at the endothelial level. Therefore, there is an inflammatory response, what we call the systemic inflammatory response syndrome, SIRS, systemic inflammatory response syndrome. So the whole body becomes swollen. There's damage at the endothelial level, and you become swollen. Fluids leak out, and you bloat out. So that is, in a nutshell, the explanation of the pathology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. And the midwife.
Yes, dear.
So you come into contact with such mothers more often.
Yeah.
So I would like you to share with us what are the symptoms of these diseases for the lay person. Doctor has mentioned some of these medical signs and symptoms, but for a mother at home who would want to be sure that what is happening to me is either preeclampsia or not, what are some of the things they need to look out for?
Okay. And before I get to that, I just want to add a little to what
Yes.
Doctor just said. If you want to break all that he said down to the average person, for first-time pregnancies, if it is your first pregnancy, it is most likely that you can get preeclampsia. And then if the mother is very old, not very old, like say from
those are the
35
factors,
years.
yeah.
Okay.
When you're 35 years, it's possible that it can put you at risk more.
Right.
The signs and symptoms, mostly, there are no clear-cut symptoms for the mother.
Oh.
Yes. Mostly the most obvious ones are swelling of the hands and the feet. So if a pregnant woman is there, they will see that their feet and their hands are swollen. That is mostly the very clear signs. But most of them, they kind of say, because they are going to have a male child, so they kind of ignore those signs. But the others are, they may have headaches.
You made mention of something. Let me cut you here. Because they're probably going to have a male child. Is that a myth or is truth?
It's a myth.
Yeah, it's a myth.
That when you're about to have a male child, you have a lot of swelling in the feet.
I think that is one of the problems that we have. So mostly they miss that sign, which may be the only sign they may get. Some will have headaches, like I said, and then blurred vision. And most of the time too, let's say they are there and then any little work they do, they are fatigued, you know. So aside these little things, there are no obvious signs and symptoms that will alert the mother that she's having preeclampsia. Yes.
Okay. So how common is it in Ghana?
It's very common.
Very common.
Yes. It's let's say about 8% of all pregnancies may end up in preeclampsia.
8% in Ghana
yes,
here?
Yes, in Ghana.
Yeah, it's a worldwide phenomenon.
Yes.
Anyway.
Worldwide, between 2 and 8%. But in Ghana here, about 8% of all pregnancies may end up in preeclampsia.
Okay. So that sounds like it's a serious issue. Because,
It's serious.
Yeah.
It's a serious issue.
All right.
It's a serious issue, yes.
So can it lead to death of the baby?
It can lead to death of the baby. If you go back to the explanation that doctor gave, all those things, when preeclampsia occurs, there is placental perfusion. The essential thing is the baby depends on the oxygen from the mother so that it can function. And the oxygen is supplied through the placenta. If the placenta is not having enough, it means that the baby is not getting enough oxygen to develop.
Exactly.
So most likely the fetal development is undermined, the fetal weight is low, and then if it continues, the baby can die.
In the womb or
yes,
stillbirth?
in the womb,
Okay.
and there can be stillbirth. Mostly, let's say if the mother even goes ahead and delivers, the pregnancies always end up in preterm labor. If it happens, we know that prematurity also causes about 27 of neonatal deaths. So if even the baby is born and is prematured, there's still the likelihood that it may not survive. Yes. So the baby can die out of it, and the mother as well. If the condition progresses, and let's say the intervention was not timely or it wasn't adequate, it can progress and the mother can get seizures. That means it is progressing from the preeclampsia to what we call eclampsia. These seizures can also affect the vital organs, and the mother can lose her life. There can be HELLP syndrome, there can be shock, there can even be problems with the liver and the kidneys.
Yeah,
if
that's
all
what
of
it
these things compound, the mother can also die as a result of this.
All right. Well, this is very enlightening. But we want to go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with our discussion. Nutrition Care Consult is a health and wellness organization that seeks to provide optimum health through good nutrition. With nutrition and health advocacy, we collaborate with corporate organizations, with churches, with schools, with various groups, and we provide them with pragmatic lifestyle information that enables them to make healthy lifestyle choices. We have a team of experts, nutritionists, dietitians, medical practitioners that assist our clients manage diet-related diseases. Comfort Legacy Foundation is currently our last baby. It's a non-governmental organization that seeks to support malnourished children. So if you wish to support, please contact us on our Facebook handle. It's Comfort Legacy Foundation. You can also call on 055-930-4594. Supporting Optimum Nutrition Care Consult means contributing to a healthy individual, families, communities, and country. We are especially excited about the WowLiifeStyle show. It is our first beat, and we entreat you all to rally behind us. Remember, it's your lifestyle, my lifestyle, our lifestyle.
Sense. Release your senses.
Doctor, what are the health implications? I know that Ms. Belwa has talked about how bad it can be. Let's look at the health implications of preeclampsia.
Yeah, as she said earlier on, preeclampsia can lead to eclampsia, in which there are convulsions and can lead to death. Because it's a systemic disease originating from the placenta, you can have what we call end organ dysfunction. The liver is one. When the enzyme, as she said, the enzyme, the HELP syndrome, which literally means hemolysis, your blood cells begin to break up. You have elevated liver enzymes. And one very important thing, your platelets. These are the substances in the blood that help the blood to clot. They are consumed up. So if they get consumed up, you may bleed profusely.
How does the person bleed? Is it that when they get cuts or when they get hurt, they bleed, or they are just
No,
there
from
that
any
bleeding
orifice
from?
at all.
Okay, whether they are hurt or not.
Yeah, because
Oh.
platelets are one of the main components of blood clotting, and they have been used up. Your system the blood fails to clot when there is the slightest provocation. So that's what we have the DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation. But they can also get stroke because it's a systemic vascular disorder accompanied with endothelial dysfunction and capillary level disorder. They can get bleeding into the brain or ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic stroke. And it's one of the important causes of deaths in preeclampsia. It's not just the liver. Your kidney too can also fail when the protein becomes high, more than 5 grams of protein, you pass out in 24 hours.
All of this sounds very serious. So
Yeah.
how do you
Renal
feel
failure.
as the experts when you come into contact with such mothers presenting with all these signs and symptoms? How do you feel?
Yeah, you have to be calm and diagnose it. Is it an uncomplicated situation or a severe or with severe features? And the criterion is the blood pressure, 140 systolic, diastolic 90 millimeters of mercury. If you get to 160 millimeters of mercury, diastolic 110, we say it's severe. And you either intervene and deliver the baby and deliver the placenta.
Okay, like forced labor.
That is the solution. You know, because it's a placental pathology. Basically, it's a placental pathology that has overwhelmed the whole body. As soon as you get the placenta and the baby out, you are done. And you see that you see a reversal of all the symptoms. So when you see it early and the baby is not ripe, it's expectant. You manage with the antihypertensives and monitor the BP regularly. Okay. But if it's after 37 weeks and the baby is mature, you intervene. Either you deliver the baby by inducing labor or intervening with the cesarean section. So once you intervene and placenta is out, you see a big relief to both mother and baby.
Thank you, Doc. Auntie Midwife, our avid health educator, how do you feel when you see such mothers presenting with these?
You know, you just have to be empathetic. You can't be sad. You understand?
But the way you are saying it, it's as if you are just doing it because the mother is feeling bad or presenting. But naturally, you know, because what you are discussing now sounds very serious to me.
Yes.
And if a lot of mothers, from the statistics you presented, if a lot of mothers are showing up with such...
But yes, I agree. If in that context, once you are seeing it every day, then it makes you sad. Because
oh, you are used to it.
No, not used to it. Empathetic is if I am seeing one single individual with preeclampsia, how I feel towards the fact that I have to be empathetic so that I can do my job. But with the general overview that mothers are trooping in with this same, then it is really sad. Because the possibility that there are a lot more who are not even coming to the hospitals is there. Because mostly if you look at these statistics, the research we do, it is only a few percentage of the people that we capture. There are lots of them who deliver at home, who don't go to antenatal clinics, who are just, they get pregnant and they wait for the day to deliver. That's what they do. So you can imagine these people who are also having preeclampsia that we don't know of. You understand? So on that grounds, it makes me feel sad. You understand? And the fact that if you talk to these women, most of them don't have a lot of information on preeclampsia. I know that during antenatal, we midwives, we do a lot. We teach them. We do. Some mothers, may not pay attention as they should, or maybe because of, family problems, they have other children and other responsibilities. Maybe they may not, stick to the advice we give them as much as they do. So on the grounds that after all of these education and advocacies, mothers are still coming in with this problem. It is a crisis. It's a serious crisis. And we always say that preeclampsia is not just an issue for the individual. It should be for the whole nation. It should be a collective responsibility, because there are things that we all can do in our little small ways to make sure that collectively preeclampsia is eliminated.
Things that we all can do. What
Yes,
can we do?
exactly. If you are a pregnant woman, before you get pregnant, as doctor said earlier, old age can be a risk factor, and then obesity, a lot of them. So if you see that you are gaining a lot of weight, you exercise, you eat properly, so that you put your shape, at an appropriate weight.
A healthy nutritional status.
Yes. Thank you, Madam
Nutrition
Nutritionist.
test.
Yes. Before you get pregnant. And then as we grow, young women, we shouldn't concentrate more on our education. As we go to school, we should let our attention also go to our, biological clock. That if you concentrate too much, we may start giving birth at 33 and 34 and 35.
Is it our fault?
And it's not our fault. So in the same way, we should be conscious of both sides. You understand? So that we can deliver a little earlier, that we don't put ourselves, at the mercy of preeclampsia.
Are you advocating for early pregnancy?
It's not early pregnancy. 35. A woman can have a safe pregnancy from age 18. Okay. So if, let's say, by 23, 24, you are done with university or your nursing training or wherever, around that time, I think that you concentrate more on masters and doctorates. But if at that time we can also think about childbirth and then not marriage, a marriage around the same time.
Okay,
Yes.
I think that we'll spare this particular area for
Yes,
another time. I think I have a lot of questions to ask you about this submission.
Yes.
So another time we'll talk more about that. Doctor, how can this whole situation be managed at the facility level?
The management are into the prevention aspect and the treatment. I will talk more about the prevention. Because there are two types, early onset and late onset. The early onset, 20 to 24 weeks, very serious. So researchers have advocated for the introduction of aspirin, early introduction of aspirin for about 12 weeks. If you are in a family, now you know this family has preeclampsia in the family, then you can start with low dose aspirin.
Is this preventive or?
Yeah, it's preventive.
Okay.
It's preventive.
So for someone with high blood pressure during pregnancy,
yeah,
the person can start taking aspirin without doctor's prescription?
If you are suspected to have early onset preeclampsia in your family.
Okay.
I'm talking from the family point of view.
So for example, I know that my mother or my grandmother had preeclampsia.
Yeah.
Do I start taking aspirin when I'm
pregnant
without any high blood pressure?
No, when you get into pregnancy,
okay,
at 12 years, the experts will advise you to start taking it.
So no one should just decide to go and be taking
or if you had
aspirin.
preeclampsia before and you were successful, you had your baby, and the next baby is coming, obviously you'll be advised at week 12 to begin low dose aspirin.
So that's the duty of the doctor?
Yeah, that's the duty of the doctor.
Okay, so just to make clear that we are not advising
anybody,
or telling anybody watching this program to go around taking aspirin once they are pregnant and they know
has
that
its own
they
side
had family
effects,
history.
which are not very good. So if you are pregnant, if there's a family history of you had preeclampsia before, you're having a new baby, you'll be advised to. Secondly, in areas where there is low calcium intake, you are advised to take calcium. Calcium is also preventive in the onset of preeclampsia. For the treatment, we leave it to the experts. But one thing that I would say that magnesium sulfate is not an antihypertensive. It's an anticonvulsant. It is used to abrogate the convulsions. So, but invariably the blood pressure also comes down. So people are thinking that you can also use it to treat the hypertension. You don't use it to treat
So
the
that's for the
hypertension.
healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
to
So
know.
there are drugs to treat it when you see it early.
Okay.
That is for the health professionals, but for the preventive, that's what I've told you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. And to midwife, we need to wrap up.
Wrap it up.
Do you have anything to add and your final words?
The only thing I will add is that preeclampsia is a very serious complication in pregnancy. So as much as you are pregnant, the first thing you always, if any woman is pregnant, she looks at having a healthy baby and being healthy herself. So let us pay attention to antenatal clinics. Husbands and sisters and mothers, we should talk to our women and actually push them to come to the ANC clinic. If you are a husband and you can accompany your wife, bring her.
We would love
Listen
that.
to the education. And then when you see that she's not doing anything, she's not behaving as she was advised, you help and assist her. When a woman pays attention to antenatal clinic, all of these things can be detected early enough, and you wouldn't have to have the preeclampsia itself. So let's concentrate on that. As a nation, health workers, if you had a job and pregnant women come and they have these things, let's not pay attention to rest and then don't eat salt. Let us also pay attention to actually managing the disease so that it doesn't also progress.
Well, I think almost everything is said. And what I will add is that it can be managed if seen early. And the community education is one of the most important things to do to people who are potentially expecting to be pregnant anytime soon. I think it's important to take them through all these variations that can come along so that when they see it, they can report to the doctor or to the facility in good time. Because when you report in good time, the management is very successful, very, very successful. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Our experts have spoken, and for some nutrition tips, just like our midwife advised, ensure that you have a healthy weight even before you are pregnant. You know, we should all plan to be pregnant. We shouldn't just go into pregnancy because we want to be pregnant. And so let's ensure that we're taking a balanced diet basically, and also let's cut down on high protein and fat diets, and let's replace these portions with fiber-rich diets. And in fact, if you want specific information, you can talk to your nutritionist or your dietitian to help you choose the right foods, and you'll all be safe as women. Thank you very much for watching the Wow Lifestyle Show. This is proudly brought to you by Comfort Legacy Foundation and Optimum Nutrition Care Consults. My makeup was done by Gorgeous Beauty Clinic. You can contact her for all kinds of makeups. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.